tax investigations? Just hearing those words is enough to make anyone a little nervous. So today, we're going to cut right through that anxiety. We're going to break down exactly what happens when HMRC gets in touch, how the whole thing works, and how to best handle it, all based on some really great insights from industry specialists.
You know that feeling, right? That brown envelope from HMRC lands on your doormat, and your mind just starts racing. What could they possibly want? Did I mess something up? What's going to happen now? It's a pretty universal moment of dread.
And look, that feeling, it is not an overreaction. Our sources put it very plainly. Even a totally routine check can pile on the pressure. But the really serious investigations, they are designed to dig deep, to be intrusive, and they can be incredibly rattling for anyone going through them. Okay, so let's break this down, because not all contact from HMRC is created equal. It is absolutely crucial to understand what kind of inquiry you might be facing, because, believe me, the severity can vary dramatically.
So first up, you've got the most common one, the compliance check. Now, this is just HMRC's fancy term for a regular tax inquiry. They're not coming in suspecting you of being a master criminal, they're basically just looking for errors. But don't think it's random. They're usually targeting a specific risk they flagged. The good news, these are way less severe and usually get wrapped up much faster than a full-blown investigation. Now, on the complete other end of the spectrum, we have something called a Code of Practice 9, or COP 9. This is a whole different ballgame. This is not a simple check for mistakes. This is a serious civil investigation run by HMRC's elite fraud investigation service. And they only issue a COP 9 when they already suspect serious tax fraud has taken place. And when you see them side by side like this, wow, the difference is just night and day. A compliance check is about fixing mistakes. A COP 9, on the other hand, is all about financial recovery from what they believe is serious fraud. The process is totally different, too. With COP 9, they actually ask you to admit fraud and then provide a full detailed report, at your own expense by the way, in exchange for them not pursuing a criminal case. The stakes are just worlds apart.
And hey, this isn't just a headache for individuals. For businesses, things can get even more complicated. They can face what's called a cross-taxes inquiry, or a CTE. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's this incredibly intense process where HMRC looks at everything all at once. Corporation tax, VAT, payroll, the whole shebang. It's a complete financial deep dive. Okay, so after hearing all that, you're probably thinking, is there any way to get out in front of this, to fix things before that brown envelope even shows up? And the answer is a big, resounding yes. Which brings us to a much more proactive path, making a voluntary disclosure.
So what are your options? Well, HMRC actually has a couple of main pathways for this. The two big ones you should know about are the Worldwide Disclosure Facility. That's for any income or gains you have from outside the UK, and the Let Property campaign, which, you guessed it, covers undeclared rental income from any property, whether it's here in the UK or abroad.
And really, the whole point here is about taking back control. By getting ahead of the problem and proactively correcting the record yourself, you will almost always get a much better outcome. Usually with way lower penalties than if you just wait for HMRC to find the issue and kick off a formal investigation.
But, and this is a big but, the second you register for one of these, a clock starts ticking, and HMRC typically gives you just 90 days. That's it. 3 months to get everything together, submit a full disclosure, and pay what you owe. It's a super tight deadline that really forces you to act fast.
Now here's a really critical detail you have to be aware of. HMRC is constantly sending out these nudge letters based on data they're getting from banks and other places. If you get one of these before you come forward, any disclosure you make after that is no longer considered fully unprompted. And what that means is you could face higher penalties than you would have if you'd just come forward on your own in the first place.
Okay, but what if you go through this whole process, and at the end of it all, you just don't agree with HMRC's final decision? What then? Are you stuck? Nope. You don't have to just roll over and accept it. There is a formal path for disputes.
And here's your roadmap, right here. First, you get 30 days to send a written appeal. If that doesn't work, you can ask for an independent review, where someone totally new inside HMRC takes a fresh look at your case. Still no luck? Well, then you can escalate it to the first-tier tax tribunal. And at the same time, there's another option called alternative dispute resolution, where a neutral HMRC mediator tries to help everyone find some common ground.
All right, we've talked about the different types of investigations and how to fight a decision. But let's wrap this up by talking about the real-world stakes.
the consequences, and the best advice our sources have for navigating this whole thing. You see, it's not just about the financial penalties and the stress. For cases where they find a deliberate default, HMRC has another pretty powerful tool in its arsenal, and that is public naming and shaming. They actually maintain a public list of deliberate tax defaulters that anyone can go and look at.
And being on that list, you can imagine the impact can be devastating. This isn't just about being embarrassed. We're talking about serious damage to your personal and professional reputation. It can totally mess up your relationships with banks, with customers, with suppliers, people who might not want to do business with you anymore. It's a punishment designed to hurt long after you've paid the financial penalty.
So, with all this complexity, the crazy deadlines, and these super serious consequences, how on earth are you supposed to handle it all? Well, the source material we've been looking at points in one very clear direction: using an independent specialist firm.
And here's why that makes so much sense. A specialist is completely objective. They're not your regular accountant who might be worried about covering up past mistakes. They're also a much better resource to deal with the intense demands of an investigation. And crucially, they know how to talk to HMRC, how to manage that relationship professionally so you don't accidentally make things worse. Their entire goal is a commercial one: to get this resolved for the lowest possible tax, interest, and penalties, period.
So, we'll just leave you with this one final thought. We're living in an age where HMRC has more access to data than ever before, from overseas banks, from all kinds of third parties. The chances of them spotting a discrepancy are getting higher every single day. So it's worth asking yourself, is your financial house truly in order?